they may now start to struggle as people have switched from drinking out to drinking at home. We think some of that trend will continue, and the duty regime is likely to change. Then if you look on the consumer side, on the demand side, some consumers are rejecting these big global brands, but they still want a brand that they can trust. The rise of craft in our industry, so craft spirits, craft beer, is still seen as a proxy for good, even though that's not necessarily the case. Being UK made is likely to matter more, I think, post-Brexit. And people more and more do want to buy from a good company. This conscious consumerism is definitely something that we're able to benefit from. So we can't help but be aware of the environment and the impact of climate change. You know, these are the views from our doors. That's, you know, coastal erosion. That's not coastal erosion. That's just the tide out at Walberswick on our doorstep. But these are the things we see on a daily basis. So we can't help but understand the impact of coastal erosion, of flooding, of extreme weather, of rising tides. So the Beast from the East a few years ago had a massive impact on our operations and our profit. I think 17 of the hottest years have been in the last 25 years. Someone may be able to correct me on that. So, you know, these are things that have a real impact on our business and on our sales. So we can't help but be aware. This pub you'll see there, this is one of our pubs on the harbour. The flood level in 1953 was exceptional, but last year this pub flooded 3 times. So it's a daily reminder, if you like, of how important the climate is. This is our factory, so our brewery. We use a lot of raw materials, we use a lot of natural resources, and we work really hard to minimise our carbon emissions and our water usage. So this is a product that's causing us some problems because, as I said, the low and no alcohol market is growing. To make beer, we've installed some very high-tech kit that removes alcohol from beer through filtering, but to do that you use a lot of water. So actually it's a much healthier product, but it's a product that has more impact on the environment. So we've got to work quite hard on how we reduce water when making that product. But in general, this kit was put in 2007. It was and still is one of the most energy efficient breweries in the UK and across Europe. So we capture a lot of steam, we capture a lot of energy and heat and reuse that. The amount of water required to make a normal brew, not the low alcohol brew, is a fraction of the industry norm. So I think when we put this in the old kit, we were using 16 pints of water to make 1 pint of beer. This kit dropped it beneath 4 pints of water. Now, the industry has got much better, so we're no longer quite that far ahead, but this technology is been huge in reducing our water consumption. So we will have limits on the amount of water we can take. We will also have really strict limits on the amount of wastewater we can put down through into the drainage system. So water's a big thing for us. This, partly because I just like this picture, but partly to remind ourselves that drinking beer in casks, so these are casks, is the most environmentally friendly way of drinking beer because these are refillable hundreds, if not thousands of times and fully recyclable. So if you go to a pub and drink a pint, it's about the best way you can possibly do it. This is a picture of our distillery. Our distillery is relatively new, actually. It's been in about 8 or 9 years, but we've had some quite exciting conversations recently about how we can use hydrogen technology to completely change the way we do this. So early stages and no real progress at the moment, but certainly an opportunity for the future around that. This is Jonathan, our chairman. So he lives just outside of Southwold. This is one of his fields, and he grows the rye for our Adnams whiskey. So it's about as close as you can get in terms of local sourcing to use that in our whiskey products. This is a little bit further away. So this is Holcombe Estate up in North Norfolk, but this is another really important partnership with us when it comes to sustainability. So Holcombe grow most of the grain we use in our beer. And we actually met with them yesterday to talk about ways we can partner and improve the carbon levels in soil, improve the biodiversity of the fields and the areas which we grow, how we can completely remove the need for any kind of artificial fertilizers. So again, it's a really important partnership, and it's somewhere where there's lots of opportunity to make things better up in Holkham. These are people on one of our distillery tours, and the reason I put this in is really just to talk about how, by telling stories to our customers, to our guests, to our consumers, it helps them make really informed choices. So it really drives that conscious consumerism I mentioned earlier. So it's making sure that people can understand that sometimes paying a little bit more, paying a bit of a premium, means that they can make the right choices when it comes to not just the environment, but just good business in general. Other areas of our business, so as I said, we've got our own estate of managed properties, pubs and hotels. Those are more difficult businesses to tackle from an environmental point of view. But what we find with these businesses, we can do lots and lots of small things. And actually we can influence consumers more. We can influence the industry, so we can share best practice. So a myriad of small things around waste, around energy, things like offering a discount on rooms. So if two couples book, if they arrive in the same car, we can give them £20 off their room. If they arrive using public transport and we go and pick them up from the train station, which is about 15 miles away, again, we can offer them discounts off their room. So just ways of encouraging consumers. We stopped using bottled water in the hotels about 10 years ago. We installed a filter and a way of carbonating water. So we serve filtered tap water, carbonated tap water, huge reduction in the amount of bottled water sold on site. So, and again, these practices, they're just rolled out across all of our estates. This is Nick. So Nick's our executive head chef. He's really, really passionate about sustainable sourcing. And we tend not to always look for an accreditation. So there are lots of accredited schemes out there, but sometimes those schemes don't take a very holistic view of how you can have the best impact across the most areas. So Nick's really passionate around animal welfare, around local sourcing, around sustainable sourcing. And he's a pretty amazing chef as well. So really good to have him on the team. So I thought I'll put some pictures of food in to make everybody hungry, and some pictures of beer to make everybody thirsty as it's coming up for lunchtime. A little bit cruel, I know. This is our distribution centre. So this was built in 2006, and it's an amazing building. You see from the next photo, it's sunk into the ground. So it has minimal impact on the environment visually. As you drive past, you just see the roof. But it was quite, at the time, it was very innovative building technology. So we had CNN based on site for the whole day, reporting on the day we opened. The roof is hemp. We collect all the rainwater from the roof, and that's used to wash our lorries in the lorry wash, flush our loos. It's actually recycled. On the far left of the picture, there's some reed beds there. So the water goes through some natural filtration through those reed beds, and it is actually clean enough to drink. But we don't drink it. We just flush the loos and wash the lorries with it. But the important thing about that building, we, prior to there, we were in a very old-fashioned warehouse, and we had to pay a lot of money and use a lot of energy to heat that building to keep the beer warm enough in the winter, and then refrigerate it to keep it cool enough in the summer. This building technology with a sedum roof and hemp walls allows us to keep a fairly constant temperature. So we don't have any refrigeration, and we have very little heating. Only in the offices on the top right there do we have some heating, else people would complain and not work very fast. So really, really proud of that building. We're looking at developing, we use about 1/10 of the site. So we're looking at how we can make better use of the rest of the site, both in terms of improving the biodiversity, but also improving the environment for people to work in, because it's a little bit out of town. And if you work in Southwold, you get to walk on the beach and have walk-in meetings all day long. Up at Raiden, it's not as easy. So we're looking to improve that. As I said earlier, we've won that award for 3 times, but there's other stuff we're really proud of as well. So we were certified 5 years ago for using all renewable electricity. but we also have a community trust, so we donate 1% of profit to charity. And many of the awards made are to individuals or groups that are working in sustainability. Education and care are other sectors where we donate to, but quite a lot of them have a sustainability element to them. This is our most recent product, and the reason I've put this in, because this product we've partnered with Blue Marine. So Blue Marine are an amazing company doing work around marine conservation, marine environment projects. So looking at salt marsh, looking at seagrass, looking at projects like restoring oyster beds in the Orwell, improving the quality of water, but also understanding the amount of carbon that we can capture within the ocean. So what we do with them is, again, it's about telling stories, amplifying the work they're doing, amplifying their stories, and donating a small amount of profit through that. So, and the other thing we can do with Cobalt and Blue Marine is when we have Waitrose had sole distribution for a while on this product, so then we can encourage Waitrose to tell these stories as well. So it's around how we tell stories and link it to product and link it to the environment. This is our stretch of beach, so just outside our offices. We've been cleaning that beach for 15 years, 3 times a year. Occasionally we partner with the Marine Conservation Society, so then we actually record what we pick up, how much we pick up, different types of rubbish, and that helps feed into the work they're doing on understanding what's being washed up on our beaches. So and we're really lucky with the weather. We generally have beautiful days like this to get out and pick up, so it's not a bad way to spend the day. Skip past this photo because I don't like this one, but this is a snapshot of some of the 500,000 bees that we have at Radon on site. And as I said earlier, they form part of this bee corridor. So they're really important part of our sustainability story. We've recently signed up to the Prince of Wales Terra Carta, and signing up for things like this, you know, they don't necessarily change a huge amount about what we do and how we do it, but they make a very public commitment to other people how seriously we take this. So we're proud signers of the Terra Carta. And when I'm rattling through these slides and gabbling, I think the other thing I wanted to mention, or 2 things about this photo. First of all, on the left, you can see in the background, there's some shrink wrap bottles. One of the things we're doing as we speak is working with a company that's going to take all of our shrink wrap and convert it into plastic pellets that can then be used to make tables and chairs to go outside our pubs. So quite excited about that. But moving to the main focal point of the picture, this is Andy, he's our chief exec. And the stuff that we do, the way that sustainability sits within our business is really, it's so well embedded, it's so critical and important to us, and it's because of the leadership. It's because of really consistent messages around why this stuff matters and why it's not optional. So it's only right that he gets credit and gets to be on one of these myriad of slides. Alex, how am I doing for time?
Yeah, well, yeah, been about 20 minutes, but yeah.
So I was just going to talk a little bit about sort of COVID and the impact of COVID, but it's probably less to do with sustainability and more to do with where we are, really. I think what's reassuring around COVID is that what we haven't done is said, because, you know, we're in a fight for survival, let's not make any bones about that. We're 150 years old, our business has been largely closed apart from our retail business, our employees have been largely furloughed. So it's incredibly difficult. And I think in any other business, one of the first things to have suffered would probably have been sustainability, would probably have been our commitment, because, you know, actually it's about saving jobs, serving customers. We can't afford to do anything more, but it absolutely hasn't. It's been top, middle and centre of everything, even during the most challenging times. And for me, that's quite reassuring, because I think it just shows how firmly embedded this stuff is within our business. So apologies if that was really whistle stop and a million slides, but happy to answer questions now or after Sondip's had his session. So
That was great. Thank you, Sadie. Yeah, I think just a question from me, as you mentioned the COVID and obviously the lockdown and how that's had an effect on practically every business out there. Have you seen this new drive towards the low and no alcohol products because of lockdown, do you think? Because you said you are focusing on that more now. Do you reckon that's made that?
I think it's been a growing trend, actually. I think we've seen it over the last, when did we put, I can't remember when we put the low and no plant in, must have been about 4 years ago. And even in that first year, I think within 6 months, we'd sold what we thought we would sell in a whole year. And it's been a really, I mean, you know, it's from a standing start, but the growth has been astonishing. I think partly because the kit is very advanced, so the product is therefore very good. But there is a growing interest in that whole sector. I think initially in lockdown, we saw consumption go up quite a bit in the UK. I think lots of people were stuck indoors and the weather was very good if you remember the first lockdown. Yeah. So I think we certainly saw our website sales increase dramatically, but I think that started to slow a little bit now. So, yeah.
I've got a question myself. So actually 2 questions. First one following off of pretty much what you have mentioned. So what do the sales figures look right now? Because as far as I'm concerned, there was definitely a spike. I know it from the retail side in that I know a lot of shops started selling out all of their supplies and there were shortages, at least for that type of product. So for first question is, I want to know, has that been sustained? If so, is it still growing, or is it peaking out, or is it falling back down? What is it looking at?
Yeah, so when we went into lockdown last March, if you can imagine, all of our sales channels stopped other than supermarkets and web. We saw supermarkets increase by around 40%, and that's been maintained. So when we've come out of lockdown for various periods, it's dipped slightly, but not especially, which is one of the reasons we think this switch to drinking at home is probably a permanent change, probably not to the degree it is now. Our website, so I think when we went into lockdown, our standard day was probably about £2,000. I think it averages now about 15, and if we do an offer, we'll do 70,000. I think our top day in November was £150,000 in a day. So you can imagine scaling up that type of operation where most of the business was furloughed. We certainly we know that some of those customers are customers that would normally shop in our shops because we can see the clusters of deliveries around those. But even those, what we saw when we opened last summer, we moved to doing some of those web deliveries through our shops, partly from an environmental point of view, partly from a cost point of view, partly from a customer engagement perspective. So we think people that perhaps got used to driving to shops and then carrying very heavy product home would rather just, and especially if you're working at home more, I think that's another trend that will have an impact on that, because historically you don't want to have your wine delivered and just sitting on your doorstep, whereas if you're going to be working from home, that's perhaps a more attractive option.
And then the second question, in the beginning of your presentation, you mentioned how the means of, I believe, making the alcohol free version of your products, how that started using a significantly lower amount of water. It went from 15 to 1, I believe you said 4 to 1.
So yeah, so the normal, the standard beers, the ratio went down from 16 pints of water to a pint of beer to less than 4 pints, but the low alcohol beer is made in a different way. So because the alcohol is actually filtered out through a really fine membrane, we have to use a lot more water. So, and there's 2 problems actually. So from a sustainability point of view, environmental point of view, one is the increase in water. The other is that actually what we're doing is washing alcohol into the drainage system. So we're having to work really closely with that. That means our effluent is different. The treatment of that effluent, the impact on the drainage system, because there's a higher element. We wouldn't normally wash alcohol down the drain. So it's how can we recover the alcohol so that it's better for the drainage system. But it's a big challenge.
I was going to ask, did that have a knock-on effect on the prices? Because I know a lot of the alternatives tend to be more expensive. So again, that filtration process was more expensive. Did you find that it helped you be more competitive after you improved that?
Yeah, I think what we found is, so what you have with when you're producing a low and no alcohol product, you suddenly have much greater cost of production, but you have a much lower tax liability. So in actual fact, it didn't have. We were able to kind of balance that out a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Somdip, did you have a question?
Yes, I do. Thank you so much, Alexa. Thank you so much, Sadie. I'm a big fan of the citrus peel ale, and it's good to see the backstory of the company behind it. So my question is, so for next 5 years, are you consciously thinking about adopting any new policy or change within the business to drive sustainability within the company? And I have another question. The second question is, where can I get Cocoa? I haven't seen that at Tesco.
Oh, I don't think it's. I think at the moment it's. I think it's only Waitrose and Co-op. I think, but it is going into Tesco. So, yeah, definitely, it's amazing. So it's a really good product. So your first question, yes, absolutely. So I think we feel that, you know, sustainability has been a big part of us for such a long time. So the site at Raiden where we built this big distribution centre, we bought that 40 years ago, before people were talking about carbon footprints and green energy and sustainability. You know, we stopped using carrier bags way before it was really a fashionable thing to do, or the right thing to do. I think we had a lot of investment around 2005, 6, 7 in a lot of very big scale projects. What we want to do now, we're looking at hydrogen technology, how that could be used within our business. We absolutely need to look at this big site at Raiden. What are the kind of geothermal properties there? Could we look to explore those technologies? So in terms of big scale, big investment projects that we'd likely need to partner with someone else, absolutely. In terms of the smaller stuff, switching all of our shop vans to electric, we've got 2 at the moment, we want them all. Using web deliveries, naked web deliveries, which I always think conjures up quite an interesting picture, but deliveries without cardboard packaging, or cardboard packaging that can be reused many times. So one of the things we're meeting about this afternoon is to do that. I think then there's a third stream to all of this, and that's around influence and amplification. So what can we do with our own teams? What can we do with our customers, suppliers, consumers, communities, to influence them to take this kind of myriad of small steps that on their own don't seem very much, but actually can really add up. So really simple example, historically menus in our shops would have perhaps had 4 fish dishes, 4 meat dishes, 2 vegetarian dishes and a vegan dish. We're going to change that so that the vegetarian and vegan options in our hotels are so attractive that you just tempt people to eat a little bit less meat, not to try and convert them, not to say we don't ever sell meat in our hotels, but how can we influence people just to make those smarter choices sometimes and that have a better impact? So, and in terms of the business case for that, there's an absolute business case, because generally speaking, there's a better margin on those foods. There's in terms of providing good work, that type of cooking is much more creative and much more challenging, so therefore more rewarding. So when you translate that back again into the kitchens, it's better work for people as well. So lots of things, I guess, is the answer.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lauren, did you have a question?
Hello, yeah. Hi, Sadie. Thank you
Hi.
for that. It's really interesting to find out about this, because I think it's not something that everyone is aware of, especially with maybe in breweries and hospitality, that sort of thing, about what you're doing to help with environmental issues. My question is a little bit similar to Somdip, in the sense of, are you looking to possibly also become sort of like a certified B Corporation potentially in the future?
We looked at that, and I think short answer, yes. Long answer, the concern I have is if you go for accreditation, it can sometimes narrow what you do. And we're quite a diverse business, and the challenges are quite broad ranging in some ways. And I think there's a risk you can just focus on the things that get you the badge or get you the accreditation. And actually then so talking to Holcomb yesterday, there's a couple of schemes they could have gone down, but there's not a scheme that really looks at this whole circular piece of how can we perhaps increase biodiversity, increase carbon retention in soil, improve quality of yield, breed sheep, this whole thing. And sometimes because it's quite a complex model, it doesn't really fit. But the B Corp thing is interesting, and it's certainly, I think at the moment we're coming out at about, we've done the online assessment, I think we're coming out about 80%, but that's kind of, some of those answers are yes we think, rather than yes we can evidence and prove. And that's the other thing, they can be a massive distraction. All of these things take hours and hours and hours of work, and you measure and measure and measure, and sometimes it just stops you getting on and doing because you're too busy proving what you've done. Yeah,
no, I understand that. I think I get what you're saying. It looks good for you to have that status, doesn't it? And other people might trust and buy into it more. But are you just trying to do that just to prove your status than anything else? But great. Thank you very much. Anyway, it was a great talk.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Excellent. Is there any more questions for Sadie before we move on to Somdip?
Sharon?
No? Okay, in that case, Somdip, if you'd like to share your screen at all.
Sure. Thank you, Alexa.
Very exciting. Thank you.
So, sound and visual check. Can everyone see my screen and hear me properly? Perfect. I'll just quickly check. Okay, great. So thank you everyone for having me for this talk. So today's presentation is on the Nosh story. I am Somdip Dey, co-founder and CEO of Nosh Technologies. We are a deep tech ag tech company who is dedicated to reduce food waste at home. So the problem that we are trying to solve is food waste. 1.3 billion tons of food are wasted every year around the world, which is equivalent to $2.6 trillion. And with that money, you can buy out Apple and Tesla together. Yet, 1 out of 9 people go to bed hungry. Moreover, on an average, a family or a household in the UK or US end up wasting $1,000 worth of food every year. If you would have invested that $1,000 in Bitcoin on November 2020, last year, by February 2021, in few months, you would have made $3,600, which would have bought you 18 Michelin star meals. So what's our backstory as Nosh Technologies, and what's my backstory with food waste? It's not just the statistics which kind of inspired me to come into food waste. In 2013, I moved from India to the UK to pursue my master's at the University of Manchester. Fast forward to 2014, when I was writing and working on my dissertation, my parents went through a car accident, and that caused severe injuries to my parents, paralyzed my father. And to help my family financially to go through the medical procedure, I sent back all my savings to my parents without even thinking how I'm going to survive for the week. And then I realized, shoot, I don't have money to buy food, and I don't get paid till the end of the week from the part-time job that I was doing. Luckily, it was around summertime when students were moving out. And because they were moving out, they were throwing unopened boxes of food like apples, oranges, canned food in the skip. And I survived the week by gathering food from the dumpster or the skip. And that gave me my first idea of what is the impact of food waste, even in a developing country like the UK. I was going through hunger. I was hungry, whereas in my neighborhood, people were throwing away unused and completely consumable food. So fast forward to end of 2014, there was an international hackathon, which was Coding's 2014 Global Hackathon. And I co-developed the world's first crowd food sharing platform, which enables the user to share their leftovers and food surplus with people in need and with food banks. And we made that software open source so that others could also use it. And that also inspired a lot of entrepreneurs around the world to adopt similar technology, to join in the cause to fight food waste. But being the creator and an early adopter of such an technology showed me a big flaw. The big flaw was such a technology was still dependent on volunteering roles. Now, fast forward to 2020, when pandemic took over the world, and we could see that the volunteering roles plummeted. So that kind of like brought up the flaw of such apps or technology, which was trying to help in the fight to food waste. Moreover, during the pandemic, we saw another trend. The trend is that people started to stockpile and they bought a lot of stuff to fill up their fridge so that they can adopt to changing like shopping schedule. They can also maintain social distancing. Now, when you stockpile a lot of items in your fridge, especially for items with shorter shelf life, you run the risk of food waste a lot more. So we, the founders, were also facing the same issue at home. And then we thought, okay, what can we do by using technology to help not just me and others around me, but people who are facing similar challenges? Now, before we move on to the solution, we are scientists mostly, and we base our theory on data. So we did market research to find out, okay, what is the breadth of the food waste issue during the pandemic? So this market research done on a focus group of 62 participants who shared the same interest of food or foodie in social media, we found out that 54.8% of the participants mentioned that they face food waste at home. 46.8% of the participants mentioned that their food wastage has either increased or remained the same because of the pandemic. We also collected few more interesting data which are not completely related to food waste, but I will tell you why it's essential later. So some of those data that we collected, that 53% of the participants mentioned that they read online news or articles on food. And 83% has mentioned that they use online recipes. So these data will be like used in our company to build the product that we are developing currently. So the market size that we are currently targeting is, of course, like more than 7 billion people on the planet. But let's focus in the UK, because right now our app is very popular in the UK. So we are currently targeting 32 million people in the UK who share the similar food and foodie interest. So our solution is the Nosh app, an artificial intelligence powered all-in-one food management application that helps you to manage food more effectively while reducing food waste at home. So some of the key features that the Nosh already offers is you can effectively manage food so that you can consume when they are fresh. It also offers in-app recipe suggestion and in-app shopping planning. So before you go out and buy your grocery, you can plan what you want to buy. And after you have already got them, if you are not aware that what you want to do with them, let's say you want to try something new, like a new dish, but you're not sure and you go online to find recipes, you don't need to do that anymore. You can just do it inside the Nosh app as well. And the most unique part about the Nosh is that it has an in-app artificial intelligence algorithm that optimizes your food buying and wasting habit by learning how you're buying and wasting food, and then informs you so that the next time you go and buy the grocery, you know which food to buy or not to buy to optimize wastage at home. And we are also revolutionizing the agricultural industry and empowering farmers through our innovation in blockchain. Now, recently we have developed an IP where we are leveraging blockchain and QR code along with our data-driven Nosh platform so that the farmers only produce the popular food products in their specific region to optimize food waste through produce and henceforth also save money. So our mission is for us, customers or consumers, convenience comes first. And our vision is making food management at home more convenient for the user. But we have a longer vision, or we like to call it BHAG. That is, when people think about food, they should think about Nosh. That's the type of company we want to build. Currently, we are using technologies such as artificial intelligence, edge computing, cloud computing, and blockchain to develop solutions that can make food management and reduce food waste at home more convenient. So far, Nosh Technologies has also developed 5 intellectual properties leveraging the AI, edge, cloud, and blockchain technology. And you can read more about our research and the intellectual properties that we have created from the link provided in the slide. Now, some statistics and our app usage traction. So we launched our app last year, April. In less than 1 year, now we have helped close to 9,000 people reduce food waste at home. We are available in 172 countries on App Store and Google Play Store. And daily, we register more than 300 unique food items through the Nosh app. We have also maintained an average of a 58% growth rate compared to our competitors. And the top 5 countries, based on the number of users, UK obviously comes like on top, but the other countries which are topped by the usage is United States, Russia, India, and Vietnam. Now, we have been also fortunate enough to be covered in several top media outlets, from Business Insider to BBC. And we also got like awards and endorsement through, we won the Best Mobile App Design Award by BMA, and Nosh app is recently named as one of the top 50 innovations in food and water by Accenture's Blue Tulip Awards. So this is our market competition for food inventory, expiry date, food waste, and food management. If you go onto Google Play Store and Apple App Store, you will see we are one of the top ranking applications for these particular categories. So thank you once again for having me. And if you would like to learn a bit more about our platform, our solution, just send me an email at day@nosh.tech, or you can also reach out to me on social media such as Facebook, and I would try to get back to you as soon as possible. Or you can also follow our company on Facebook at Nosh Technologies. Thank you so much. So if you have any question, I will take them now.
Thank you, Somdip. It was great. It's so good to hear about how you're getting on and the challenges that you can often come across as well. Did anyone have any questions for Somdip?
Actually, I have a question. Thank you, Somdip. It was really good to listen to this. Obviously, I've heard about your business already, but this is great to get a little bit more detail on it. I did notice a little section where you put about the different sort of age ranges of people that you've spoken to in regards to food waste, I think. Do you know which sort of age range or category are you looking at that do you think has the most food waste? Do you know who that is at the moment?
So this is from the focus group. I'll try to get that slide on. So currently we are mostly targeting the 19 to 24 and 24 to 35, that age group, because most of the participants who have mentioned that they currently face food waste related issue come from that age group. So from 19 to 35.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you find a lot of those, are they students then, or would they be living at home and they're just sort of, the food waste comes from there, or is it because they're at university maybe and then they tend to have bigger food wastage then?
We have not collected that data, unfortunately.
Okay.
So we have only collected about the age group,
Mm-hmm.
but not more about from which background they come.
Okay. Okay, yeah, fine. I just wanted to get a bit of an idea of sort of who the age range was on that. But yeah, great. Thank you for your talk.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting and would be a fantastic tool, particularly for new students arriving onto campus. Maybe they've never lived away from home before. Maybe they're living in a completely different country. I know when I went to university, I was into jacket potatoes and cereal for quite some time. So understanding how to help budget and maximize the food that you buy in, because everyone's budget as a student is quite important. So understanding where you should be spending your money and how to stop wasting that money, I think is really great. So I think it would be a brilliant tool for the students to get on board with as soon as they arrive, really.
Thank you. Although we have something on chat.
Yeah. Are you able to see that? Yeah.
Really great question. So Brandon is asking, are there any challenges implementing ML, machine learning on mobiles? Now, first of all, we actually pride ourselves, Nosh Technologies, as a company who put customer first. So for us, privacy of customer is on top. Now, why I am saying this is because if you are aware, most of the other companies, big companies who are using AI and ML, such as Apple or Facebook especially, they have this privacy issue because they are like collecting user data, and they are like using their ML AI to like go through the user data, which kind of opens up a big privacy and security issue as well. But from the beginning, as like Nosh Technologies, we kept privacy in mind. That's why we are using a concept which is called federated learning, where we train the machine learning algorithm on the edge device. So we do not transfer any like personal data of the user to our servers. We only transfer the trained model. So the model is trained on the user data. The user data stays safe with the user, but the model is transferred to the server. But at the same time, the model also interprets just on the like user device. So in this way, we can make sure that users' privacy is intact and not breached in any possible way. So privacy is one of the big challenges that ML has on mobile devices, but we are already solving that by using federated learning. On the other hand, another big challenge that machine learning algorithm face on mobile platform are the energy consumption, which is absolutely like going against the sustainability issues. Now, I wouldn't say luckily, actually my research or my PhD research is how to develop and design AI and ML algorithm on mobile platform, which is more energy efficient, yet powerful at the same time. So we are industries, like among all our competitors, we have the least memory footprint on the mobile, and moreover, we have the least energy consumption among all the other applications which are available for the same purpose. So yes, that's why like we are using like AI, ML, Edge, and cloud to like drive this kind of innovation within the Nosh Technologies. Hope that answers your question.
Sandeep, it was really interesting. It might be interesting to consider a commercial use for this as well. It's certainly one of the key drivers, the key measurements in terms of food waste, but also profitability in a commercial kitchen. And the larger the kitchen, the more difficult it can be to keep track of dates and products and that type of thing. So it might be interesting talking to someone about that.
Yes, absolutely. We are currently actually working on a few robotics related projects, which does help kitchens as well, like not just home kitchen, but commercialized kitchen. But again, like those are some of the future projects that we are working on. Definitely, like you're absolutely right, Sadie. We are working towards that.
Excellent. It sounds like you've got some good technology there that's quite transferable. I will admit I don't really understand the ins and outs of machine learning, but I can understand the benefits this will have to a wide range of people. So yeah, thank you so much. Is there any other questions for Sandeep at this point?
Yeah, I think I might ask just a small question. I didn't quite understand the part about making a listing of food items. And if, for instance, I want to go to a supermarket, does that provide me with the information on food prices or like delivery available from the supermarket, or is it just general names of food items? And yeah, just that.
So how the application works, let's say you go out and you have a list of items to buy, right? You can make the list within the app. Now, when you go, let's take, for example, Tesco. You go out, you buy the products. Now, we offer you, currently, we offer you 3 different ways of entering all the products that you have bought. One you can do manually for each and every product. So you have to enter the name, expiry date and the quantity. But doing the manual one is a bit tedious if you have bought a bag full of items. So for that reason, we offer two more other approaches. One is you can just scan the barcode and you get the name and manufacturing details from there directly. But you still need to provide the expiry date because barcodes do not come with expiry date inbuilt in them. But it just makes it easier for you to get the items in the app by just scanning the barcode. But there's a more efficient way, which is by scanning the receipt. So you got the receipt, you just use scan receipt option within the Nosh app. It scans what items you have got, and you just have to enter the expiry date again for just for the items that you have got. But in this way, it lists all the items from the receipt. And recently we have been also featured by BBC Food for having such an option. So does that help?
Okay, yeah, no, I think, yeah, it's quite easier to just scan a barcode from the receipt. I think if it's got the information like that. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for coming. It's been great to hear from Sadie and Sondep, all really interesting areas of research and work. And yeah, like Lauren said earlier, I didn't know how involved Adnams are in their environmental pursuits, which is amazing. And Sondep's right at the start of his journey, leading the way. Good. It's brilliant to see. So yeah, thank you once again, everyone, for coming. We've got more talks for the rest of the week. There's tomorrow we're hearing from one of our students and graduates, Abel, who has a sustainable fashion industry platform idea that he's working on and developing, where you get upcycled and bespoke and made to measure clothing and things like that. So another really interesting area, because what I'm very quickly finding, and as we all know, sustainability and environmental issues affect all sorts of businesses, but it's really quite interesting to see how it affects each business so individually, even if they can be in these really drastically different areas. So brilliant. Well, thanks everyone. Nice to see you all. And
thanks, Alexa.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much, Sadie. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.